Hello YouTube and welcome back to Fire Gaming Project. So in this video I'll be going over the version 3.5 Phase 2 weapon banner that has been announced and will be coming out in a few days. So let's get started. It will include and feature the Mistsplitter Reforged, which is Ayaka's signature weapon, and the Calamity Queller, which will be Shenhe's weapon. I actually don't have the Calamity Queller, but we'll talk about it as well. And in addition, I will focus on the 4 stars afterward. So let's get started. So the Mistsplitter Reforged is actually one of the best crit rate or crit damage swords in the game. It does have a long passive here, which I won't be reading, but basically it requires, to get the maximum passive, it requires an infusion on the blade of an element. So of course in Ayaka's case it's very easy after she does her little alternate dash to infuse cryo onto her blade, so that's why it's really good for her. Other characters that this could work for are Alhaitham recently, because he is very easily can infuse Dendro. I'm highlighting over the sword, but I mean Alhaitham because he's using the sword. And who else? Also possibly for Ayato, her brother, because he can also have that infusion as well. However, I believe the infusion has to be for normal attacks, I believe. So in his case, for Ayato, it may not work specifically because he infuses on his skill. But yeah, regardless, it's still going to be a good stat stick, even if not all the characters that use this blade can get all the maximum stacks or all 3 conditions met. That's okay, because it's still a good stat stick regardless. Kaching can do it, but her blink and infused electro blade is only a very temporary situation, right? And then of course, for example, like Bennett can technically infuse a little bit, but that's his elemental skill, so again, it's questionable whether that works. And for example, Kazuha can only do it on C6 for him, for his constellations, etc., etc. But overall, this blade is a solid blade. It looks cool. It's very strong. It's a great stat stick. 44% crit damage and 674 base stat attack is very high. So it's a very good pickup. Okay, moving along. And as I just mentioned, by the way, it also is kind of universal for a lot of characters. Okay, so moving along, I don't have Calamity Queller, but I do have the stats. I will just read out the stats only. So its attack is 16.5% at level 90. That's very low, by the way, 16. Okay, and the base attack is 741. The passive is about gaining 12% all elemental damage, and you can obtain basically a stack after using an elemental skill and causing attacks to increase by 3.2% per second. And the attack has a maximum of 6 stacks, so it's basically like almost like 20%. If you can get all 6 stacks, okay? And it's all about the attack increase as well. When the character equipped with this weapon is not on the field, they'll also double their attack. So it can become 40%. So it's kind of cool in that sense, but it's a very universal weapon in that way, because it's just attack. But not every character needs the attack. And does your Shenhe need to have it? Sure, it'll help her, and then therefore help buff the cryo character that she's buffing, such as Ayaka or Ganyu. But is it a must-have? No. Calamity Queller is not a must-have. Is the Mistsplitter Reforged a must-have? Sure. But it's not like you have to have it. Like Ayaka, I can go back a little bit. Ayaka can do well with any other 5-star sword. She will do fine with the Primordial Jade Cutter because that's very universal. She would do well. She has energy requirements, so she could do okay if you sub DPS her with like a Skyward Blade if you end up with that. I wouldn't recommend going the Elemental Mastery route, but you could consider maybe Physical and Cryo. That's okay maybe. Or just the Aminoma is okay too. It's very universal, right? Like, so she has lots of options. Or the Black Cliff if you want to go that way. So yeah, we'll just leave it there. We're not going to go into like all the different options that are good for Ayaka because she has a lot, so there's so many out there. So that's why I'm saying you don't have to have this splitter, but it will just really beef her up a little bit. Whereas for Shenhe, she does not need her Calamity Queller, and she's still strong. She really, really, quite honestly, just needs energy recharge. That's all she needs. She doesn't need Elemental Mastery. She also needs attack, by the way, because she scales off of that. Her talents, if you go here, it's attack, right, for those scales. So a lot of them, and then like some of these passives are crowd damage bonus and elemental burst damage bonus and attack bonus, right? Like so, like basically she just needs attack and she's good otherwise, and energy recharge because she does have high energy, as you can see here, it's 80. So for her, I gave her the Skyward Spine because many of us might have these kicking around. Ended up picking up a third one a while recently, so that like a couple of weeks ago. So not the best situation, but I did not bother like refining it further for her because I actually don't use her. So she would be even fine with the Missive Wind Spear, which we got a few events ago. So this is a pretty good pickup, and this would also go well for Mika, who's also debuting on this banner, right? So it would go really well, I think. So she would be fine as long as her energy needs are met. And of course, good old Favonis lens is like her go-to, but you would definitely need to build her for crit. That's all. And then of course, if you want to go the free route, of course, then prototype Star Glitter, definitely craftable, right? She is a Liura character. If you happen to have a Lithic Spear lying around and no one's using it, perhaps, but that's requiring you to have other Lithic or Liura characters in your team, right? You know, the catch is better suited for other characters, but if you somehow don't have other characters that you want to give it to, then sure, you can give it to her. The Moon Piercer doesn't really work for her, in my opinion. The Catan, like we can skip the EM ones. So yeah, I think that those are pretty much her best bets. But yeah, she has like there's less polearms in the game, so she has less options. But overall, she is solid. And if you do go for her, then yeah, if you happen to have a Skyward Spine, I would recommend that. That's probably her best option. If not, then just give her the Missive Wind Spear. And if not that, then the Favonius. And again, for Ayaka, I'll just quickly go back and quickly say, so if you don't have any 5-star options to give her, that's okay. I already mentioned that the Primordial J Cutter is like very good universal, but maybe you have an extra Haran lying around. If you have a Skyward Blade, that could do for now. If you don't, again, a craftable option is Amanoma. I think we can go with the Festering Desire, but only the veteran players will have this because this was released in 1.2. So yeah, Blackcliff Longsword is not a bad option. Favonius Sword is okay for her, right? Sacrificial is also okay for her because then you can use her skill more than once, perhaps. And then this was was the Kazuha Story Quest one, which is permanent content, so you can get this anytime. But this is only R1. But regardless, this is an okay blade for her, and it looks cool too. And then I think those are pretty much the options for her. Yeah. If you, I wouldn't recommend giving her like a three-star sword, but like a cool steel could work for her, or even like the Skyrider sword. If you're brand new to the game and you don't have access to the 4 stars and 5 stars yet, sure, then these are good options to start with, but you'll replace these eventually, you know? All right. So let's move along. Let's just quickly go over the remaining 4-star options on the banner. So since we're on the swords, it was Sacrificial that will be coming. So Sacrificial is best for Xingqiu, but again, it could work really well for Ayaka. It actually looks kind of cool on her too. And again, it allows her to do her skill twice, which is a nice little crowd control piece, and it's quick too. So it works in that case. It is a good one to have, definitely for Xingqiu regardless. And let's move on. Then for the spears, it's Favonius. That's the 4-star one that's going to be. So we just said, so Favonius, if you don't end up getting the Calamity Queller or for your shenhe, then that's okay. That's okay because if you pick up a Favonius from that banner, that's okay because she will do perfectly fine with Favonius. And this is a very universal one. You just need to make sure that she has over 50% crit rate in order to land the crit hits to get the passive activated more often. All right, moving along. If we go to the bow section, it's going to be the Favonius as well. So clearly it's all about energy, it sounds like, for this upcoming banner. And Favonius Warbow is a very solid one, especially for energy-hungry characters or characters that are support. So I gave it to Magoro, as you can see, but this works well for like many characters. Like Diona could make use of this. Kujo Sara could make use of this. You know, even some 5-star characters that are currently missing a better 4-star weapon or a 5-star weapon could make use of the Favonius as well. Like energy-hungry characters such as Yelan, if you don't happen to have her 5-star weapon, or a 4-star damage alternative, because you might use her as support purely, right? Then Favonius would be a good option, right? Or Venti, right? Because some people do play Venti as support, and Venti's, you know, even his signature weapon is energy, right? You know, so you know, Favonius is a pretty solid pickup as well. Alright, moving along, Catalyst. I actually don't have the one that's on the 4-star banner listed, but it's the Wine and Song. So it's not a great weapon, I'm going to be very honest. That's why most players don't care for it. It is a limited series Mondstadt weapon. So I think I had one way back a long time ago, and then I foddered it because I figured that no one's really going to use it. I'm going to pull up the stats. It won't be on screen, but I'm going to read it off. So it's an energy recharge catalyst, 30.6% energy recharge, and 565 base attack. The passive is very straightforward. Just hitting an opponent with a normal attack will decrease their stamina consumption or sprint or alternate sprint by 14% for 5 seconds. Additionally, using a sprint or alternate sprint ability increases attack by 20% for 5 seconds. So basically, the passive is not useful for most characters. No one cares about the sprint or the speed right now in the game. At least that's not how the meta is played. The only ones that even have an alternate sprint that are Catalyst users is Mona, right? So like realistically, and Mona has better options. So I wouldn't bother with that. And yeah, so that's why Wine and Song, I don't have it. I trashed it. I don't think it's a good weapon. Moving along finally to the Claymore side, it's the Bell. Now the Bell was trashed for the longest time until Dory came along and until Diha came along because they can scale with HP in their kits. So that's why the Bell at least has some users now. So the Bell is on the screen here. It's definitely still a trash weapon, don't get me wrong, but at least you can put it on Dory because she would at least benefit from the HP for her healing, and Diha can benefit from the HP for her tanking, right? So, I mean, if you don't want to invest in these two characters and give them anything else, and you happen to have the Bell, because I happen to have it a while back and I kept it from way back when, that's why I still have it, right? Otherwise, I would have trashed it a long time ago, and I had it at R5, and it was like, I think level 60 or 70, and then when I got Dory, I went and leveled it up and gave it to her, because then it frees up her from using like for example, a Favonis or a Sacrificial that another character could use. You know what I mean? So there's that strategy involved as well to give characters that match their kit, and then they don't have to like take up a place for a better weapon that another character can use that's more universal. But regardless, this is a trash weapon. Okay, so now I'm going to summarize, and we'll just pop back out here now then. So do I think the weapon banner is a pull or a skip? It's definitely a skip, regardless of the fact that Mistsplitter is really good on there, and a few of the Favonius weapons are good on there, but the Favonius weapons come back, and the sacrificial weapons, they come back so often on many weapon banners, they're not like you have to get them. The Wine and Song is definitely trash, you can just skip that, and if I were you, and if you got that, you can just fodder that, quite honestly. And then the Bell, again, it's not like something that any player really cares for. Again, the Calamity Queller is not a must-pull item, so I wouldn't bother worrying about that. If you're going for Shenhe and you have a Favonius Lance, that's good enough, right? And then again, Ayaka has so many other DPS options or supportive actions, so I don't think that she has to have this, but if you main her or use her for like harder content such as the Abyss and you really need that extra little bit of extra damage, then definitely get the Mistsplitter for her. And then at least it can be usable on other characters for static purposes. Alright, so I will be skipping this banner. I already I don't use Shenhe, and I don't really care for her her polearm, and I definitely don't plan to pull another refinement for Mistsplitter, so I'm good. Yeah, so I'm being very careful with my Primo Gems and my wishes because I am moving towards completely free to play. Right now it's just Welkin still. I'm waiting for my remaining Welkin package to run out, and once it runs out, I'm probably just going to be completely free to play at that point. So I'm just saving all my wishes. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you guys going for the Mistsplitter Reforged, the Calamity Queller, or any of the 4-star weapons? Or are you skipping this weapon banner and waiting for the 3.6 character and our weapon banners, where Baiju and Kave will be debuting, and we'll be getting other rerun characters, of course, as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.